Have you ever thought about what you're passing down the line? Like, have you ever stopped to think, what am I really passing down the line? Because you're either passing blessings or curses, and it's
Yeah.
up to you. If you go through this planet and you don't intentionally think about what you're passing down the line, you're definitely passing on things you don't even think you are. I have always known about generational curses and, generation, all these things. But when I met my speaker today, she made me aware that your legacy can nearly be you're passing down a legacy of pain. That was interesting to me. Like there is something called generational pain. There is something called building a legacy around pain. Like who knew? Welcome to today's episode, my friend. Today we have Monique. Now, Monique is not a normal, usual, everyday expert. She's a dedicated mind body coach who has turned her personal struggle into a mission to heal other people. After enduring 2 decades of chronic pain, countless medication, and numerous surgical procedures without relief, Monique took matters into her own hands. And her journey of self healing not only freed her from the pain, but also ignited a passion to help others break free from similar affiliations. Today, she's really dedicated to ending the cycle of pain through generations, through families. She understands deeply how physical and emotional suffering can become a generational pattern or legacy for so many years. And what this looks like is that you feel like your family is in this cycle of crisis, of disease, suffering, pain. It's like everyone in your family has this thing on their forehead, born to suffer. Through holistic approaches and personalized guidance, Monique empowers families to confront and heal the root cause of their pain. Her work fosters resilience and well being, ensuring the future generations can thrive in harmony and wellness. I don't know that there is a better way to impact the world than think about what you're passing down. And today we're going to dive deep and hear about how she does it and how you can be a part of her work. Monique, welcome to the What's Best Kept Secret. I'm excited you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and hoping I can share something impactful with your guest today.
Absolutely. When you tell me what I missed in introducing you, what do people need to know that I did not talk about your work?
Yeah. I think you hit the majority of it, right, with the
Mm,
introduction. It's really just understanding that things are passed down
mm,
generation to generation until someone decides it stops with me.
mm,
And I think we've all experienced that in our families, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, something that just didn't quite land
mm,
correctly with us or you or someone in the family. Someone says, I don't like that, or I don't know if I want to believe that, or I don't know if I want to keep doing that.
mm,
And it only takes one person to change 7 generations after them.
I like that. What if we all decided it ends with me? Whatever the thing is, it ends with me. The diabetes, the sickle cells, the cancer, the divorce, unstable families, the narcissistic, the abusive, it stops with me. What if we were to make that decision and go, you know what? This stops with me. What if every single person on the planet made that decision? Woo! Let's go back to your story. 2 decades of hard knocks. Take us there, because I feel like someone needs to hear that story to make that decision. Say it ends with me.
Yeah. Um, I grew up in a what seemed to be a pretty normal house, right? My parents were divorced when I was very young, and um, they both remarried, had many other children, stepchildren. We adopted children in the family, things like that. And I remember at a very young age getting sick with tonsillitis, like having sore throats to the point that my tonsils would swell. And, my mom was great. She would bring me to the doctor. She would get me medicine. She was very attentive whenever I was ill. She was a great mom when I was sick. She always wanted to take care of us. And after a few days, it would all clear up and I'd go back on my day. And I don't know, maybe around 13, 12 or 13, I had a knee injury. I fell off a bike, right? And it was just kind of from there, it was just kind of one thing after another. What I believed was normal childhood injuries and illnesses, now that I actually look back, I can see the root of where these things began. Um, knowing what I know now as an adult and what I work with people with finding the root cause of their pain and why they suffer with these things, anything in the throat is my voice, right? So I didn't have a voice. It wasn't safe to speak. And one of the things that my parents did a lot was quit talking, go to your room, be quiet, don't say that, don't talk back. And, as a child who doesn't have a prefrontal cortex developed and is just expressing, when you hear don't talk back and you're going to get in trouble, like you might get punished, you might get, spanked, you tend to not talk back. And then over time of doing that, there comes a point where you continue to suppress the voice
Mm,
because it's not safe. And so there were times that I wanted to go tell my parents about something that happened at school, or, I was heartbroken over a boy, or,
mm,
this girl was mean, or whatever it was. And I felt like if I went to go say it, that they were going to tell me, be quiet, go to your room, don't complain, stop fussing.
wow.
And so I pushed that down, right?
Mm,
And I really believe for me, this was one of the main things that contributed to everything that happened.
mm,
So injuries started happening. I'm hypermobile, so I was tearing ligaments. I was, tearing up tendons in my body. All of
mm,
these things happened. Car accidents, and over time, I found myself in a chronic pain journey where I was having treatments and medications and therapies. And um, by the time I was in my 20s, I was a wreck. My body was just wrecked.
mm.
So when everybody else is starting college and taking, their senior trips, I'm on crutches and I'm on medicine and not well.
Wow. Wow. What was the turning point for you? When did you decide it ends with me?
Mhm. Yeah. I think I always knew I was a little bit different in my
Mm,
family,
mm,
but I remember my kids were in middle school. I was in my 30s. I had children very young. I had both kids before I was 20 years old, and I was in my 30s and they were in middle school, and we were in the kitchen and I was taking my medicine, and I remember looking at them across the house and just thinking, I don't even care if they do homework tonight. Like, I don't have the capacity to cook dinner. I I wasn't concerned if they took baths or took care of themselves. I was just so numb and exhausted from the side effects from the medication that I was on.
mm,
And I remember looking at my kids and thinking, if I don't do something now, I don't know what's going to happen to them.
mm,
And I don't think if they would have been in my life, I would have been able to see it,
mm.
which is what's even more scary.
Wow. And so now you decide, you know what, something has to change. Take us from that day to today where you're like, you know what, it's actually my mission to stop this generational pain from the universe, from the world. Take us from that point when you made that decision to when you decided it was your soul work to do.
Yeah. So that night I just decided
Mm,
this has to end. The habits that I had, the cycles that I was in, I knew it had to change, but I didn't know what else to do.
mm,
Like I knew that I could drink a glass of wine and relax on the porch. I knew that my medicine would keep me from being over anxious or shutting down. Um, but I wasn't living. I wasn't enjoying the time with my family. I wasn't present with them.
mm,
There's moments where I don't remember, years. I'm like, I mean, I know we were there, but I don't know if anything substantial happened or not. And again, it was just kind of that awareness of I don't want to be like this forever. I want to give my kids a life that I didn't have.
Mm.
And I decided that night that I was going to do things differently. And I had, been working on this like holistic wellness certification. It was just a course that I was taking, and I had some essential oils in the house. And I thought, maybe I'll start buying organic food and stop, buying processed things. And I just decided that day I was going to live a holistic lifestyle. And I didn't know what that looked like or where to even begin. But I knew, like I said, I had some essential oils. So I made some lavender tea, and I,
Mhm.
you know, decided that first night I wasn't going to take my sleep meds for the first time in years.
Oh.
And I remember just putting lavender like on my pillow in my hands, making
Mm.
lavender tea and thinking, okay, if this helps me relax,
Mm.
I wonder what else is available. And
Mm.
it did. Now, of course, it didn't work like a sleep medicine did, but it did help me calm down and go to sleep. And the next morning I woke up and I decided that I was gonna try to get off some of the medicine that I was on, I'd
Mm.
already talked to my doctor about it. He said it was okay. I don't recommend that anyone get off medicine or get on medicine with or without a doctor's, thing. That's not what this is about. This is just my personal story
Mm.
and my awareness that I had that I was very numb to everything. So it was doing its job. It was keeping me from, feeling over anxious, but it was taking away the joy as well
Mm. Mm.
and the potential.
Mm. Walk us through that. I want to really see, like, if somebody was like, you know what, it really ends with me, but I'm so scared, I don't know what to do. Take us through your journey, because I feel like sometimes it gives you permission to take a step when you see somebody who's gone through the fog and they're on the other side. So take us through that journey of, you know what, I'm going to try one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, and get us here when you're like, okay, now I'm ready to help the world, because we are not yet here, like right now. So I want to get
Yeah.
here, like, from that place to, all right, this is Monique
Yeah.
now, your coach. I want to get to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. So I realized again that I wanted to make the change, and I
Mm.
just started with buying more natural foods, supplementing the oils in the place of my medication. Um, and I began to follow people to therapy school, because I thought I can figure out how to work on my own body and I can also help others. Thought that was actually what I was going to do. I thought I was going to be a massage therapist. So I went to massage school and I had an amazing teacher. She actually wrote the massage therapy books and I sat on the front row in her class and I had an opportunity to pick her brain. And when we got to the nervous system, then I could change the way the physical was doing things. And that was my first awareness that my mind and my body needed to be connected, and they were actually, my body was dysregulated about the brain. And from that space, really wanted to deep dive into not just working on the physical body, but the mental and the emotional body.
Mm.
Still work with now. I've been with her for several years, and she taught me something in real time that allowed me to regulate my own body. And for the first time,
Looks like my internet is in and out. Did you lose me? So which part are we on? You've met someone to help you. You now know how to regulate your body. Is there more, or is that where the
yeah,
story ends?
no, there's much more to that. So I learned
Mm.
how to regulate my body. And as I did that, I began to feel better. And little things changed, like my shoulder that had frozen shoulder for years dropped back into place. My migraines slowly began to disappear. The TMJ and stuff that I had in my jaw from head trauma went away. My teeth sensitivity changed. My gut issues moved, and I realized that I began to feel better. for the first time ever. And every day I woke up, I felt a little bit better and a little bit better. And then one day I realized I had no pain in my entire body, and I had no anxiety in my entire body.
I'll need to
It
pause
was
and
it was almost like
mm,
we and all of a sudden I didn't need to schedule another surgery, and so I had to go in and take training. So I went through several different courses and certifications to learn about body trauma in the body, emo pain, nervous system work, and and then in the end, the mind body coaching program is what helped me tie it all in together. And so I used all of these certifications to create this one signature program that's now designed to help people that are out there in pain or having anxiety do exactly what I did.
mm,
And the results have been phenomenal to watch people go from high stress, high anxiety,
mm,
clients that were in wheelchairs walking again,
mm,
because they've followed, and I tell people all the time, you don't have to go through 25 or 30 years of suffering like I did. You don't have to, take hundreds of courses and years of your life to figure this out. We can actually do it in a short amount of time because the experience is now here within me to share with other people because I went through it too.
mm. I really like everything about your journey. Like if you could do it, everyone can cut back the 10 years or so and just it is such a relief to hear you saying all of those things because there's a lot of people who are stuck in those and they're like, yeah, that's how we are, that's how the whole family is, and all of that. I'm very curious with your process. Like, how do you take people from that place where they don't even know what to do to a place where they're healing and walking out of wheelchairs? I'd love to go through that process if it's okay. Like, what is step 1 to 3 or 5 or 10, whatever the steps are, from this world where life is happening to me? And my granddad used to have this thing and my dad used to have this thing, and in my family everyone marries 10 wives, and this thing is coming on my head to no, it really actually ends with me. I am not gonna be a number in my generation. Take us through that process. I'm very, very keen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think first you have to have the awareness
Mm,
that you have something going on that you don't like. You
mm,
know, I'm tired of having these migraines. I'm tired of living in scarcity. I'm tired of, um, you know, everybody in my family getting divorced or whatever it is. You have to have the awareness that you don't like it, that you want it to be different.
mm. You
And
have you have to you have to say it ends with me. That is the first
yeah,
step. It ends with me.
yeah,
Now, next.
yeah. So decide it ends with you.
Mm,
Then we have to look at what created these habits and patterns in your life and in your body.
mm,
Why did that root cause manifest in your body? Why did that root cause manifest in your life? There's a root to everything. And if we can pull up the root, then we can change it. But oftentimes people don't really understand what the root is, which is one of my specialties. It's what I've
mm,
spent the most of my career understanding is the root cause. Just like I was
mm,
talking about my throat earlier, right? Like the root cause is not that it was contagious or that there was strep throat going around. The root
mm,
cause is that my body was susceptible because my brain said, it's not safe to voice. It's not safe to talk to them. They're going to
mm,
get mad. You're going to get in trouble. And so our body goes into a protective measure. Thank goodness it does this.
mm,
But if we don't have the awareness of the root of what's happening, then we just get sick and we stay sick.
mm.
So we have to look at the root next.
So you decided
Once,
it ends with me, and then now we find the road. Could you say more about finding the route? Like, what does that look like? If I'm on the other side going, can I even do that? What
yeah,
exactly
yeah,
does she do to help? Can you say more about that?
yeah. So I have extensive training in this
Mm,
field.
Mm.
to understand, that every body part has an energetic space and it holds information, it holds memories. Our body stores things like a storage locker. And
Mm.
everything that we've ever watched, seen, heard, things that have been passed down through generations or ancestral things are now stored in our tissue as well. And so if you think about the body, what does the body do? The mind thinks. So if you
Mm.
have a headache, what are you overthinking? What are you overprocessing? The eyes look, see, right? So
Mm.
what do I not want to see if I'm having eye issues? If I'm having
Mm.
hearing issues, what do I not want to hear?
Mm.
If my hips hurt, where am I not wanting to birth new ideas or move forward in life?
Wow.
My belly, where am I not digesting life if I have gut issues? What's happening
Mm.
in front of me
Mm.
that I'm just not wanting to digest or that's really hard to digest?
Mm.
So that's a really deep field. I can't get
Mm.
into the weeds too much because we could stay here for hours just talking about body parts, but every body part holds information. And my specialty is to help you understand why that information is held in your body. And then you decide, what do you want to do with it?
Mm.
Do you want to keep believing these things? Do you want to keep holding on to this emotional pain or this physical pain? Or do you want to change it? You said it ends with me, right? So you
Mm.
already know you want to change it,
Mm.
but maybe you don't know how. And
Yeah.
so that's where I come in and I help you with the uprooting. And then we decide on a new navigation path, right? Because whatever you do creates a result. Whatever you're doing right now is going to give you an outcome very soon.
Mm.
Whatever you're experiencing right now is the outcome of your past. So we have to change. We have to change. We have to navigate differently. We have to change the habit and behavior, the
Mm.
pattern that created this imprint or this impression in the body that now we're going to uproot.
Mm. Mm. I'm with you. You decide it ends with me. We now have to
Mhm.
figure out, like, okay, how did you get here? What are the patterns that got you here? And then we now have to decide, like, what do you want to do about this? I want it to end with me. All right. So now we're going to uproot these things. We're going to go through process X, process Y, process Z. In the uprooting, before I even ask that, so after uprooting whatever it is that was there, you now have to decide, so what do you want there? What is the new thing that you want us to put there? Tell me more, some of the tools that you use so that people can, like, there's people who probably already know some of these modalities and some
Mhm.
don't. So I want you to tell us a little bit about the tools you use so that people can self-select, like, yeah, I've always wanted someone who used that tool or that tool, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what I do with people is more of an individualized process.
Mm.
So we do a lot of emotional processing around what's
Mm.
going on, right? So maybe it's trauma, maybe it's just habit. Those are two
Mm.
totally different ways to address stuff. A trauma brain needs understanding, consideration, validation.
Mm.
Where someone who's just like, I don't want to do what my mom did or what my dad did or what my grandma did and doesn't have that trauma related to it, they're like, yeah, I just want to change this. I want to learn to run a mile. I want to cook differently, right? So those are different procedures and processes that we would use. But what I have is a specialized method that I
Mm.
have created from all of the different modalities that I've used. So, I'm all the things. I'm a yoga teacher. I am a brain and heart clinician. I am a psychophysiological disorder clinician, which is mind body connection. I
Mm.
have integration therapies. I've done all the things, IFS, EMDR, tapping, like all those certifications are there, but we don't necessarily use a specific modality. It's
Mm.
more like, what do you want?
Mm.
Why do you want it? And then let's create an action plan so that you can get it. And
Mm.
then when the things come up, when the limitations come up, when the mind tries to stop you or the fear comes up, that's where I dive in and really help you address your nervous system so that you
Mm.
can break that barrier and move through.
Mm. I like that you're the a la carte type of person. I don't know what modality you need until I'm working with you. So I don't know if you need tapping. I don't know if you need this thing or that thing or that thing. But we gotta take this walk, and depending on where you're at, depending on where you're trying to go, depending on what's in the middle there as the resistance or limitation, we're going to pick up the right. It's like you have this toolbox, and you're only going to
Mhm.
pick the spanner if you need it. So how I
Mhm.
see your work is all these modalities are in my toolbox, and we just
Yeah.
need whatever we need. We don't need the whole thing. We need maybe something and something and something. And that's what we are
Right.
going to pull out. There's a part
Yeah.
that you talked about, which I want to go to, which is more like, what's the difference, or how do I know if my behavior is trauma related or just a habit?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
keep telling these healers, I was not molested as a child. My family was okay. I don't remember anything so dramatic about my life, but I also know that I'm not in my highest potential. So,
Mhm.
how do you help me without creating memories that I don't even have? Like, how do you know it's a memory versus maybe subconscious patterns? Or like, I've always struggled because I feel like almost everyone is pointing me to a traumatic moment. And I've always asked myself, but what if it wasn't trauma? And why does it have to be trauma? And I like that you have this answer, because I feel like people like me who are not very deep in this spiritual world might have the question, like the habits or the patterns of versus the trauma. How do you tell which is which, or how do I tell which is which? And what's the difference?
Yeah.
Mm,
So first off, I have a couple of questionnaires.
mm,
So when someone says, "Hey, I want to meet with you," I have a questionnaire that
mm,
they're going to get first. And when they fill that out, I can normally see just from the experience of what I've done that
mm,
if this is a big T trauma or a little T trauma. And let me explain the difference in trauma. I think first we need to acknowledge that everyone has had some sort of trauma. I mean,
mm,
being born is
mm.
traumatic, right?
Mm,
And so while you're right, maybe there wasn't a rape or a fire or a death or
mm,
a big T trauma. Trauma is not an event.
mm,
Trauma is a separation from safety and the self.
mm,
So when my parents said, "Don't talk back," and I was like, "But I need to tell you this," and I didn't feel safe because I would get in trouble,
mm,
that's a trauma imprint. Now you
mm.
take that and it happens 10 or 20 or 30 times throughout your lifetime, and then all of a sudden you're a grown adult and you're yelling at somebody in the grocery store, or you're annoyed because somebody cut you off in traffic, or like that's just it's a trauma imprint. It's a little impression
Mm,
that's gotten deeper and deeper and deeper because it feels similar over and over and over.
mm,
So I do believe there is big T trauma where people
mm,
are physically abused, neglected, like there's some horrible things that have happened to children at a very young age.
yeah.
But I also believe that if grandma died and you ate a Pop-Tart on that day and you're walking through the grocery store and you get emotional around the Pop-Tart aisle and you don't know why, that's also
Mm,
trauma.
mm. That's a good one. So there's big T and there is small t. So big T
Yeah.
is like, you actually know I was raped, I was molested, I was what you know, and you either
Yeah.
know you healed it or you didn't. So how do you deal with small t if there has been these small, small, small many things that I either don't remember or remember, probably don't remember, but they are showing up in my life? What is the process for that different? Like, or do you have to take me there and I have to remember the one time that my uncle said, shut up? Like, what is
No.
the process there?
We
Because I get
we
worried
actually,
that if you take me back, I may land on the wrong thing because I am guessing here. Like, I don't even know.
yeah, yeah. No, you're correct. And
Hmm.
to be honest with you, I don't ever have to take people back.
What a relief.
Yeah, I don't ever have to take them back because we're not there anymore.
Hmm.
We're not there anymore. And like I said, everything that you're experiencing now is the co-creation of the past of your life.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you want something different, it starts today, right now, in this moment.
Mm.
And so we actually help you rewire your life, your brain, your nervous system to
Mm.
create what you want moving forward. So if you
Mm.
find yourself getting snappy at people or short or annoyed, and you don't need to go back. We don't need to go into hypnotherapy and like dig out all the stuff. I
Mm.
mean, we can actually just start right now. What do
Mm.
you want? Well, I don't
Mm.
want to yell at my kids anymore. Great. I'm with you. Why is it important not to yell at your kids? Well, because I want to
Mm.
have a healthy relationship with them. Perfect. More, what else, right? I want
Mm.
them to know they're loved. I want them to know they're safe. Great. So we work on, communication skills with the kids. We work on what triggers you as you get amped up when you start to get snappy. Those little adjustments can change everything. I have
Mm.
so many clients that we're not going back. We're just deciding today it's going to be different. And again, if we can do something different right now, we're going to get a different result or outcome
Mm.
because we're taking a different road. We're driving a different vehicle, right? So we're basically updating the GPS system that hasn't been updated. And we realize there's another road. And you're like, oh, we're going to go down this road today instead of the
Mm.
road with all the holes.
Mm. I love what you're saying because I am not a very big fan of taking people back unless it's like something very traumatic and they are suicidal. Like if somebody's just dealing, things are cropping up because they went through life. I've always believed there should be a softer way to wipe whatever and move on. And I like that you get people and go, okay, but what do you want? Let's move there. I like that process as opposed to, so, can you remember a time in your life when I'm like, no,
Yeah.
please, I don't remember. And things hint, 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 and finally you're like, okay, my dad one time screamed at my mom, like really, like accurate to that. So I love that you're not going in the past. The other question I have for you is like, when is it the traumatic small experiences adding up versus when is it just patterns or behavior or bad habits or something
Yeah.
less of the trauma side?
Yeah. I think they're equally as important to understand,
Mm.
because if you get up every day and you do the same routine and you're like, I want to change this habit, we have to understand why you're doing the routine that you're doing. Why do you
Mm.
have the habit?
Mm.
Again, get to that root cause. Where did that habit come from? Who
Mm.
taught you this? Was it taught? Was it learned? Was it
Mm.
through an experience? You know, um, and really understanding like why we do the things we do. It is all habit and behavior. Even trauma. People go into safety because they want to protect themselves from being hurt again because they have
Mm.
had trauma or they have had pain.
Mm.
And so if we
So,
can understand why we're doing
mm.
what we're doing, then we can shift it.
So what I'm picking from your work is okay, the decision, like it ends with me. I'm really just done living like this and I want to change. That's where it starts. And then we have to understand, but why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I over drinking? Why am I over smoking? Why am I overeating? Why am I screaming at my kids? Why am I screaming at my husband? Whatever the case is. And then it's now like, okay, what do I want? And maybe there is a process to actually not just say, what do I want, but maybe get a why attached to that so that you actually really want to do it. And so it's not like, what do I want? Like, why do you even want it? Are you
Yeah.
wanting it because of maybe another place of, I want to feel loved? Like, sometimes I think you can want something from the wrong place. So I think it's really digging to know, okay, but what do you want not to scream at your wife? And
Yeah.
maybe the reason is I want her to like me. And maybe that's not the right reason. And maybe we have to dig until we're at a place where we want what we want from a place of love and not from a place of fear. Or so I like that process there. And then when you're ready now, I think that is the process of uprooting. What tool do we need? The spanner, the screwdriver, or the tester? I'm an
Yeah.
engineer, so I'm thinking like that. What do we need? And after that, you've now uprooted. It's like, okay, this is how I was born. So, what systems, what operating system do you want to plug in going forward?
Yeah.
I like that. So, what's the
Yeah.
difference between inner healing versus future passing? Because I feel like your method is less of inner healing. and more of, yeah, let's look in the future. What do you want? And let's reverse engineer that. Tell me
Yeah.
what the difference is.
Yeah. I think that we've used words like inner healing and things like this a lot of times and not really understand what it means. But when you do the internal work, you're going to become a new person
Mm,
because what happens on the inside now reflects on the outside, right? And
mm,
so again, if the mind and the body are in cohesion, if they're going to be friends, if they're going to get along and not fight each other,
mm,
then the physical reality begins to change around you, right? So there's this saying that says, if you want to change the way you see the world, you have to change the way you see the world, right?
mm,
It's the same thing with yourself. So if I want to change the way I see humanity, life, the future, whatever's going on, then I have to be willing to change that with my own eyes and look for what I want to see, which is really
mm,
hard. So after you decide what you want to do and we create this plan to do things differently, well, now you have to practice it and build the muscle because
mm,
that's a whole different level, right? So you
mm,
can know what you want to do, but if you don't get up and do it,
mm.
you're not going to get it. So I read something the other day that says you can read about push-ups, but until you do a push-up, you're not going to get the results of the push-up. And I thought, isn't that fascinating? So it's not the knowledge, it's
Mm,
the action, it's the doing.
mm.
So
I think it's funny because everyone knows how to not be overweight. Everyone knows how to stay in shape. Everyone knows if you eat less and walk more, you'll be fine. But how many people are on pills and diets and overweight so I really, really get that part. Um, wow. Wow. Okay. Tell us more about the lens. Because I feel like everything depends on the lens at which you see the world. I want someone who is listening to understand that sometimes what they see is just real to them and nobody else. And I
yeah.
want someone to understand that we can go through the same world, same experiences, and you can have a totally different experience from mine based on the lens. Help me explain that so that someone can understand it. Help me explain that more because I feel like a lot of people need to understand that sometimes it's just the lens through which you see the world that is a problem and not everything else besides you. Help me go through a little bit of that.
Yeah, let's make it super simple
Mm.
and not non-threatening to anyone, right?
Okay.
Some people like pepperoni pizza, some
Mm.
people like vegetable pizza.
Vegetable,
They
anything.
both think it's right. They both think it's correct. They both think it's delicious,
Mm.
right? Which means they have a different of opinion. That's all. We all have opinions.
Mm.
We all have different things that we're doing in life, right? We don't want everyone in the world to be a plumber.
Mm.
But we get in these habits and behaviors that we think this is what's correct, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is what needs to be done, this is what needs to be taken away.
Mm.
And again, that is a product of our environmental growing up and our societal things. Some areas have certain beliefs, some areas don't. But here's the thing, Prima. I've never been to every restaurant in Italy, so how would I know what they serve?
Mm.
I can have an opinion about it, but if I've never experienced it, how would I know? Right?
Mm.
So if you look at things from a simple space of what if one doesn't have to be right for the other to be wrong? What if we both get to be right in what we believe and what's correct for us? And like, what if your parents are right? What if their generation did need to be in that
Mm.
survival mechanism, but they didn't know that you're not going to need it with your kids and your grandkids?
Mm. Mm. What if there wasn't wrong or right? What if
Right.
all it was a different opinion and no one had to be wrong for what they believe?
Yeah. What if they did it because that was what was correct for them at the time with what they had access
Mm.
and the capacity to do?
Mm.
But for you, it's not. Like my mother needed to be in the survival mechanism that she was in to function
Mm.
and live. And I
Mm.
get that now, and I'm not angry about it. But I didn't need to take that on
Mm.
and live it through my life and then pass it on to my children, right? And
Mm.
so once I could see that, I was like, oh, she needed these things. I don't. I need these things instead. So I'm going to do it this way. She did it that way. We're both going to live our life. It's fine. And then my kids, I hope don't need what I needed. I hope that they
Mm,
get to do it differently. And I
mm,
hope that my grandchildren get to do it differently, right? And again, that's where this pattern stops with me, this habit stops with me.
I like that. I like that you look at it as food. Because give me anything vegetable, green, organic from the garden, uproot it, that's my heaven. But
Yeah,
my husband, that's his hell. And I'm not wrong
same.
for liking what I like. I am not, he's not wrong for liking what anything brown, flour, I don't know, pizza, anything that is like KFC, that's his heaven. Me, when I look at his
Yeah,
food, I'm like, no, no, please. Like, no, I want the vegetable, everything which he looks at, and he just like, oh, how do you eat that? And I like that we are looking at it like this because it is just the same. What if he didn't have to be
yeah,
wrong for eating the vegetable? And he didn't have to be wrong for loving his KFC. What if that is what
yeah,
the world was? Heaven versus hell, and you didn't have to force people to come to heaven if it wasn't their heaven. Oh,
right.
that's really good. That's really good. So it ends with me. But where did this behavior come from? If I understand that, now I need to make a decision. Do I want to change it? Is it serving me or do I want to change it? No, I want to change it. It ends with me. All right. Let's uproot. Let's get to work. Let's get to the gym and build the muscles to actually uproot this thing. Now we've uprooted. What do we want? The world is a free meal, free ticket. Where do you want to go? The GPS is here. Where do you want to go? This way, that way, that way, that way. And you get to choose on point, and somebody holds your hand. An expert like Monique holds your hand and walks you through. Okay, now this is how we plant new beliefs. This is how we plant new things. This is how we get there. And hopefully, at some point, you can hold yourself and keep going and keep going. Otherwise, if the weeds show up, then we have to uproot them. And I think that life is a constant journey of growth and moving and constantly paving where you're going. What did I miss that we need to add to the piece of the process?
Yeah. I think we've hit the entire thing. I mean, that's how it starts and where it goes.
Mm,
And then, again, just knowing that life happens, things are going to occur. But if you
mm,
have the tools and the capacity to handle it in the moment and
mm,
not slip back into habits and behavior, you can
mm,
truly have the life that you desire and dream of, which was something that I did not know was available 20 years ago. I
mm,
didn't know that. I
mm,
thought that where I was and how I lived and what I experienced was just normal and it was just how it was going to be. And I should just learn to live with it and I should just deal with it and be okay. And I didn't know that I
mm,
had a choice. And when I learned that I had a choice, at first I was angry
mm,
because I was very confused as to why no one ever told me that. But then I realized they didn't actually know because they didn't know they had a choice, right? And so
mm,
again, having that place now to choose this ends with me, change it. And there was one thing that I did want to hit on
mm,
about memories and things like that, because a lot of people don't have a lot of memories of things. That it's very common that people have spaces in their memories. And what I want to touch on in that is that we have
mm,
found through brain body work that
mm,
memories are often even distorted. So
mm,
what I remember happening, my siblings remember a completely different story. And we
mm,
found this over and over. I did some work with Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. And that's one of the things that he teaches on was, that memories are often distorted. And so, again, not digging into that past of like what happened, why did it happen, all that, but really
mm,
just how do you want to feel about it now?
mm,
How do you want to feel about it now? I don't know. I don't want to know where you've been. I want to know
mm,
where you want to go.
mm. I love that because I don't want to go to some past and dig up things. Imagine all I'm clear about is what I want today. And if
Right.
I can get there, and erase whatever is in the past, amazing, because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to remember it because there's nothing worth digging up unless there is like a real tangible big moment, But if there's nothing like that, I feel like going to create all these little things is really like creating work that no one wants to. Like, I don't want to be messing with that. Ooh,
Yeah.
I love this. Let me pivot a little bit and go to tell me about the possibilities. Tell me about the experiences with the clients.
Yeah.
Tell me what's possible because we may be going, oh, maybe it's about little trauma, but when somebody moves out of a wheelchair, when somebody's cancer goes, when somebody stops having migraines, those are big things. Tell me about your experience with the clients you've worked with and what the shifts have been like.
Yeah. I have hundreds of client stories and I have video testimonials, things like that as well. But just a few of some of my clients' journeys have been I worked with some teenagers that were in high school, right? And one of them had severe acne and gut issues and
Mm,
completely gone, after about 6 months of working together. She is owning herself, she's confident, and to watch a young girl who struggled with physical body stuff and pain, who was so anxious to do things, go out into the world and go into a career and go to college now and move on with her life. That is like a mind-blowing experience. I've worked with some children that have had concussions, that have
mm,
had behavior problems because of the concussions. They were just acting up and very emotional and giving the parents a hard time. And we did some resetting on the head and the concussion subsided and their emotional stuff changed and now they get along with all the kids in the family again. I have a mom that I have a few parents that I work with that have several children, but one particular has like 7 kids and she's very logical. She's like, I know that we're not going to be late. I know the world's not going to end, but if the kid's not in the car and they're not listening to me, right, triggers all this
mm,
stuff. And then she starts getting snappy and yelling at her kids, and then the night goes south.
mm,
So it's not just about not having a migraine, right? It's about the freedom to travel or drive in a vehicle for 12 hours without having to stop 50 times, or the freedom to go to a restaurant and eat with your family because your gut issues are not going to cause problems for you. It's
mm,
about being able to enjoy your life and taking control back and have freedom in your body to do what's fun and correct for you. I have clients that are hiking and climbing that could barely walk. I have clients that couldn't drive cars, and so they couldn't take their kids to do things. They couldn't go
mm,
out,
mm.
right? Because the anxiety was so real. And
Wow.
so it doesn't matter if you're just yelling at the kids and feeling guilty and eating a bag of chips or drinking a bottle of wine because of that, or if
Mm,
you physically can't walk down the street or down the stairs,
mm,
this can help you no matter what level you're at.
mm,
And if you're afraid that you're going to get to this level because you've experienced that in your family, or like you said, the generations have all had the same disease or the
mm,
same ailment or the same hip pain, I highly recommend diving in now and being proactive.
mm. I like this because it's gonna catch the person that is aware. You know what? There's this thing in my family. When is it coming on my lap? The person that is already having the signs, screaming at the kids. That's already a sign in the way that, you know what, we're going somewhere and you may not like it. The person is already like at rock bottom with it. I like that it really, really helps out. I saw on your website a picture of you. I'm going to use a word that will make you laugh. Choking someone. What
Yeah.
what do you really do? Like, do you do in person things like I sound like is she choking someone? Like, is she like very physical when it comes to doing this
Yeah.
stuff? Tell me about that.
So
Why are you choking somebody on your website?
yeah, I do in person and online. I have clients all over the world. I mean, I'm in the States, I'm in Colorado. I have clients in Korea and Ireland and Mexico and Canada and Australia and all over the place. And I have local people. And I
Mm,
also have a retreat center. So sometimes people come in person and we do like a full day of trauma release, somatic work,
mm,
really just resetting their body and their nervous system. Maybe somebody that's had a lot of medical trauma or physical trauma that really needs some in-person stuff. But what you saw was me actually moving the front of the throat
mm-hmm.
because she didn't have a voice anymore.
Wow.
And so we were actually moving trapped emotions and pain that she had been stifling down in her heart and her chest. She couldn't breathe. She
Tell
was
us more
physically,
about this process. So
yeah,
tell me about that client. I'm very interested because I like, does she murder people or something? Tell me about that client. I'm very interested.
yeah, yeah. I have several clients that come in that
Mm,
have grief
mm,
and trauma
mm,
and things stored in their body physically
mm,
that they've tried everything else with and it just hasn't worked.
mm,
And so I invite them to get on my table and we do a session in person. And what I do is I move through the body. And as I move through the body and release things, we talk about it. They have
mm,
sounds, they have vibrations, things like that that are also allowed to come through. And sometimes people just tremble and shake and cry and get up and walk away and looks like they've lost 10 pounds.
mm,
Sometimes people get sick and go throw ups. It's a very different experience for everyone. But this client had just been um, put down over and over and over again, and was her voice was stifled. She had never had space to feel safe, and she was highly sensitive. Her nervous system was absorbing a lot of things in her environment.
mm,
And after we did that, she was able to shift her job, shift her home environment, um, felt better in her body. There
mm,
were cysts in her body that were attacking her that were gone after that session. Um, so it was just a really beautiful thing that I'm able to offer. And, again, I went into massage therapy school to massage the body. But what I
mm,
found is that it's not the body, it's the nervous system and the
mm,
mind that
mm,
really need the massaging. And so if I can come in from a gentle approach and
mm,
help people reset that, and leave, it's a beautiful session to be a part
mm.
of. I'm so honored that people are so vulnerable and trust me to that depth because it's a big step.
Hmm. What do you have open? I know you don't always have things open. Sometimes you can take one-on-one, sometimes you can't. You're
Yeah.
obviously in demand. What do you have that people can squeeze themselves in? Where is the space? How can
Yeah.
someone tap onto some of that amazing work that you do today?
There's a few things that I offer that are larger and available.
Mm,
I have a 6-week group that I run every 2 months that's for anxiety and pain.
mm,
So if you need to just dive in and get support and do it with people that are doing it with you,
mm,
I have a 6-week group, and I also have a membership. In my membership, you can come into for a year at a time and really learn about this work and get all the support you need. And we have calls every single week.
mm,
You get me live every single week, and that's probably the best way to work with me right now. And then I also offer group retreats. So I have multiple retreats a year. So if you want to come in person, get some of that hands-on work,
mm.
and really immerse yourself in a physical space, that is also available.
Hmm. I like it. There's no excuse. Your membership used to be 1,000 a year. Have you changed the price?
Yeah. No, it is $997 a year. So you can work directly with me every single week of the year for less than $1,000.
What is the excuse? I think the only excuse here is when you've not made the decision. But if you make the decision, it ends with me $100 a month, less than $100 a month. That's like 997 a year. You can get into
Yeah.
this world and start. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you are. I refuse to think there's an excuse here. Dive in. Dive in. How do I enroll into any of those? How do I take
Yeah.
the first step? Like what is available for me? Is it a free call? Is it the link we're going to be putting in the show notes? How do I take the next step if I'm listening, going, oh my God, I'm in?
Definitely schedule a call with me. I'll give you the
Mm,
link to my calendar.
yeah.
It's just a 15-minute call. You'll get a questionnaire, the questionnaire
Mm-hmm.
before that you'll be able to fill out. So I'll know exactly how to help you with what product we have available at the time.
Mm,
That's the best way to connect with me. If you want to meet me and see what I do and just build some relationship,
mm-hmm.
follow me on social media. Under every platform, it's Monique the Mind Body Coach. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, um, and just come into my DMs and let's have a conversation. Let's see where
Mm-hmm.
you are. So either one of those ways, the 15-minute call with me privately or find me on social media.
I love it. Like, there's every reason not to start. It's not money today. It is not the information. No. This work allows us to do this stuff. I'm sat in Uganda. I don't know where Monique is. It allows us to do this kind of work. So now the lack of information is not an excuse. The lack of experts is not an excuse. Really, today the excuse is you haven't made the decision that it ends with you. And wherever you're ready, everything about Monique, how to connect with her, how to book a call, how to join her on social media, wherever you're at, it will be in the show notes. So if you're watching this YouTube or a podcast that is audio, still look in the notes because all the links will be in there. We're building a community. The world's best kept secret podcast is a community, one subscriber at a time. My goal is to make this the most helpful and the biggest community in the world. And you and I get to do this. The more you're involved, the more I can do. The more you're involved, the bigger the game I can play, the bigger the guests I can bring. This is how you can get involved. 1, rate, review, subscribe. I don't know where you're seeing this and what the option is. Leave those reviews, comment if you're on YouTube. But the most important thing you can do for this podcast is share the message, share the episode with one person that you know needs to break that generational curse. That person that you feel, you know what? The divorce ends with you. You know what? The cancer ends with you. You know what? The diabetes ends with you. That friend, that beautiful friend of yours that you're like, you know what? You don't really deserve to go through what everyone in your generation went through. If you know someone like that who's had it, who's tried to get help, but nothing has changed. And you know, this is like, this person needs their last resort. Someone more thing. Just share this with them. It's the biggest and grandest gesture you can do for me. It is the thing that you can do to help me do this because this is my soul work. And my goal is to get these experts out there, known, and in front of those whose lives literally depend on their work. And you and I can get to do this. So that's my ask. That's my ask. And that will be my ask every day, every time on each episode. Monique, what would you like to close with? Your words of wisdom for someone watching going, I don't know, maybe they're on the fence, maybe they're not. What would be your last words of wisdom?
Yeah. You're not alone. That we've all experienced confusion, hard times, and that there is a way to change the trajectory of your life. And I know sometimes it's hard to imagine that. But if you are looking for any type of support, I am here and I'm available to help. I have things that I can offer no matter where you're at. So don't sit back and do this alone. Get some support and have that connection that you need.
Monique, thank you so much for sparing an hour to be with us and to feed into the community. We really appreciate you today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Prima.
And to you who's kept along and listened and taken notes and decided this message has to go out. You could have been doing a million other things, including being lost on social media, scrolling on TikTok, or you could have been on a million other podcasts that exist today. But you chose this one and you're choosing to participate and lift this community. And so I want to give you your flowers and say thank you so much. And I appreciate you. And I know that together we will do amazing things. Until next time, my friend, have a great one. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the world's best kept secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.